$50 you owe me.
Tom Cruise has given us so much throughout the years. Impossible stunt work, the most iconic run in cinematic history, screaming that rivals even Nicolas Cage.
Object! And when it went bad, you cut these guys loose!
The most awkward possible interviews.
Aren't there examples where it works?
Matt, you don't even, you're glib.
I suppose they're questions though, that people want to know.
Peter, put your manners back in.
But for all of his feats of excellence, he just can't seem to figure out one thing. How to play sports on screen and not look awkward.
Done something wrong again, haven't I?
And before you frame this as a character assassination of Hollywood's favorite not 6-foot guy, this is nothing of the sort. I'm just fascinated by how a man who can do almost anything and is obviously athletic just can't look natural while hitting a baseball.
Say again?
So what's the deal? Why can a man that can scale skyscrapers, hang onto a moving plane, drive off a cliff on a motorcycle, and beat Jack Nicholson in a shouting match, why can't that man play a sport on screen authentically? Well, look around. Which actor can do that? Yes, there are occasions where an actor can look natural while playing a sport on screen, but that's likely because they played that sport in high school or college. Very few actors can truly pick up on the intricacies of playing any given sport. And I don't really blame them. It's not like Juilliard offers classes on how to throw the perfect spiral or how to get more topspin on your forehand. These are nerds that went to nerd school, and now you're asking them to pick up on jock activities. It's not gonna work. Just consider the alternative to an actor playing an athlete. It's an athlete playing an actor, and we've all seen how that ends up.
Let's play some basketball.
But let's give Cruise credit where credit is due. For someone who has a 23% chance of being an alien, he really does try to blend in with humanity. No one takes on as many sports roles as he does, especially if they have a choice. He actually does have some athletic background. He was on his high school's wrestling team, and he played linebacker for the football team, which will come in handy for one of his earlier roles. No one can really deny his athleticism. He goes all out for every film he does and leaves everything on the floor. To use a sports analogy that maybe 5 people will understand, he has the grit and tenacity of a TJ McConnell, while also possessing the technical skill of a Kyrie Irving. And of course, there's the run. Somehow Tom Cruise, an actor, made running a hallmark of his films and made it look cool. And he did it without posting mile time PRs, or what trail he took for his light 10-mile morning run, or what gels he uses to maintain his glycogen levels. He is purely in it for the love of the game. He's done his iconic run in 44 out of his 52 movies, and if we're being honest, the run does not look natural at all. But it looks great on screen, and that's all that matters when you're on foot chasing someone while a sandstorm is about to consume you. This is all without mentioning his ridiculous stunt feats that are getting successively more life-threatening. Scaling the Burj Khalifa and jumping across buildings and jumping out of planes are not things done by someone who isn't trying. He almost always does his best to make things look as cool as possible on screen, which is what makes some of these sports scenes even more confounding. Let's take a look at some of these films and see where he may have went wrong. Don't worry, I know anyone that clicked on this video is likely waiting for the Top Gun volleyball scene, which we will definitely attempt to break down what went wrong there. But for now, we'll start with some of the easy ones, these softballs, if you will. Some of his better looks on screen. All the Right Moves, football. This was one of his first movies, and honestly, since he's playing defensive back, he can kind of get away with just looking athletic on the field. He's in high school and he just has to look semi-competent. He's obscured for most of the scenes, and his big moment is him intercepting a catch for a pick 6. His running is adequate for a high school football star. If he was playing quarterback, we may have a problem, but let's not split hairs here. Days of Thunder, NASCAR. This is one I can't speak to too much, but out of ignorance, I'm gonna say you can probably act out being a race car driver fairly easily. I know in practice, driving a high-speed vehicle is ridiculously technical, but playing it for the screen seems like it wouldn't be particularly difficult. This is a sport nonetheless, so here you go. The Color of Money, Pool. Another quote-unquote sports movie. This film has him playing pool, and honestly, he looks fine. I'm sure pool experts can chime in here, but really, I think it's difficult to seem too incompetent when playing pool. Credit to Cruise, he did put in the work to get better, buying a pool table and practicing endlessly. The role is much more about the arrogance and flair of the character, so we're fine here. Though it should be noted that some of the more difficult shots required a pool expert to stand in for Cruise. Not the worst thing in the world, but this is telling for some of the roles we will discuss in a bit. Oblivion, basketball. This scene is just 7 seconds long, so it's really more of a shot than anything. So maybe it's a bit unfair to judge this one. I do have to admit, making Cruz's broken jump shot a part of his character is genius, since he's a man from the distant future of 2077 shooting hoops in a world that no longer has a Steph Curry for reference. So sure, the filmmakers can just pay millions of dollars to license some Led Zeppelin 2 and cut it with Cruz shooting some hoops, because how else are we going to believe that he just wants to be one of the guys? Cocktail, basketball. This is probably the more egregious showing on the basketball side of things. We see Cruz shooting jump shots with interesting form. Not great, but also not the worst. Who amongst us doesn't have friends with the sideways follow through on their jump shot? It's not a completely misinformed throw toward the basket, but most people could do better than this with just a couple hours of coaching. But that's not really what makes this bad. Not even the skyhook and the backwards no-look shot. What makes it bad is all the little things Cruz does with the ball to look natural in between shots. Just spinning it around in his hands in a way no one that plays basketball does. And the constant passing back and forth for some reason. I think if he just shot the ball rather than trying to embellish it, it would come off as more believable. A Few Good Men, softball. This is a funny one since it doesn't seem to show up on any list when I search up Tom Cruise playing sports in movies, but it is pretty bad. He's grounding fastballs while speaking with such confidence about the cases he's in charge of, but his form doesn't really inspire confidence. I would not feel comfortable with my chances if he was my lawyer. But you know what's crazy? It's arguably not even his worst baseball adjacent performance. War of the Worlds, baseball. This is just malpractice at this point. While not being someone who played catch with a baseball growing up, even I can tell when someone is just completely out of place. You can tell by the way he stands when he's in between throws that he's really actively trying to convey confidence. This is similar to him in Cocktail, where he insists on the embellishments in between doing the actual thing, which makes him come off as completely unnatural. The fact that he's throwing with such confidence doesn't even give him the out of not being an athlete, so just another unfortunate occurrence. And finally, Top Gun Maverick, two-way football. Top Gun, volleyball. This is actually his second sports movie of 1986, the other being The Color of Money, and this is probably his most popular sports scene. Not for its technical prowess or anything of that sort, just because it's been memed to death and has spawned theories that I'm sure you're aware of. This is an interesting scene because, while everyone else is trying to win the game, it seems like Tom Cruise is just more interested in checking his watch, giving his partner high fives, and saying "let's go" repeatedly.
Let's go!
All with no regard for setting the ball properly. Sure, the movie Top Gun is not a volleyball movie, and this seems like a pickup game amongst amateur volleyball players and not a professional tournament. But for a man that refuses stunt doubles for jumping across buildings and out of planes, why would he need one for a short volleyball scene? Really makes you wonder. Look, I know this has been rough on Tom Cruise, but the title of this video isn't Tom Cruise is bad at sports and I'm mad about it. This is more just an observation of how confounding it is that the man that can free climb mountains can't play catch with his imaginary son. So what's the conclusion here? I don't know if we're doing anything other than solidifying the theory that Tom Cruise is an alien. I think the logical thing we can take out of this is that Tom Cruise only looks natural doing out-of-the-world stunts because we have no frame of reference for what those stunts are supposed to look like. And when he attempts to do things that we mere mortals do, like throw a baseball, he looks very much like an extraterrestrial.
Say again?
But maybe this is all just me thinking and perhaps coping that I have a leg up on Tom Cruise because when I break my free throws, I have a better follow-through. Either way, the results are inconclusive. We need a Tom Cruise tennis movie to be sure.